50-foot shrimp boat runs aground, drawing onlookers and questions. This is from newsjournalonline.com and it was published on the 14th of April 2025. A shrimp boat that ran aground on Beverly Beach, just north of Flagler Beach, had drifted after losing power Friday night, said the captain. Corey Thomas, the captain of the Miss Monty, had unloaded several hundred pounds of shrimp from the stranded boat on Monday morning as the vessel swayed on the sand as the waves rolled in. When the 50-foot long Miss Monty lost power on Friday night, Thomas said he couldn't pull his anchor, so he had to let it loose. Another boat tried to pull him, but he didn't have enough power. It was getting rough, Thomas said. He said he had a spare anchor, but it wouldn't hold. The boat began drifting, so they called the Coast Guard. The Coast Guard came and told me they couldn't tow me nowhere. But he said the Coast Guard did take him off the boat. And I didn't want to leave the boat drifting. They told me they couldn't tow me, and I didn't understand why. They couldn't tow me. They told me it was just too dangerous. The Coast Guard took him and another crew member off the boat. They also took a third, four-legged crew member off the boat, Thomas's dog, a Jack Russell Terrier named Lucy. He said when the Coast Guard got them back to land, he found another boat willing to tow the shrimp boat. The Miss Monty had drifted 8 miles in about 3 hours. 3 hours later, I chased my boat down, said Thomas. The other boat tried to tow it, but the seas were too rough, with 6-foot waves. They put another anchor on the boat, but that line broke. And there she sits, Thomas said. He said he had a 90-foot shrimp boat coming on Tuesday night to tow the Miss Monty off the beach. Thomas said he checked with a salvage company, but they first asked for $50,000. And then once they saw the Miss Monty, they lowered the price to $25,000. He's hoping to avoid the high cost with help from the other larger shrimp boat. A Coast Guard spokesperson wrote in an email that the Coast Guard station Mayport boat crew helped 2 people and 1 dog off of a shrimp boat and safely transferred them to St. Augustine Memorial Marina with no injuries reported. The Coast Guard said the vessel's owner is responsible for recovery and the Coast Guard is monitoring the situation for any threats of pollution. Meanwhile, the Miss Monty has become a bit of a tourist attraction as a stream of people walk through the sand to get a close-up of the boat. This beach is located on the Atlantic Ocean side of Florida, about halfway up and down the coast. There's a lot of beaches in this area. This story really reminds me of one nearly a year ago. The red shrimp boat, Second Chance. She went aground in very similar situations with a lost anchor, a second anchor that wasn't big enough, and nobody able to give them a tow, and she went aground. She was aground for weeks. I actually got a message from the guy running the boat some weeks or months later and said the salvage company that was coming to help float the boat or pull her off didn't have to come because they got her off themselves after weeks and weeks of trying, and a lot of black smoke from a lot of other boats, but they got the boat off themselves. This one is a little bit different. It doesn't look like it's a shallow bottom like the other place. You would think she'd be easy to pull off, but I've said that before and been very wrong. Hopefully they can get her off. The longer she sits there in the surf, the deeper she's going to get stuck in the sand and the harder it is to get her off. She's 50 feet, she's made of steel, and she's going to be rather heavy. Hopefully this 90-foot boat coming in will have the horsepower to get her out of there. She'll either go easy or she won't go at all, probably. That's the way it seems to work with these. And $25,000 for a salvage company, I'm sure that's a lot for this man. The shrimping industry in this area is in really the rough situation right now and has been for a few years. It's probably hard enough just to stay in business right now, let alone having to deal with an expense of $25,000. Plus then he still got to fix the boat, whatever the reason was she broke down. Lost power for something. So hopefully he can get that under control and don't have to spend the $25,000, and he can get back to work doing what he does best. Alright guys, there it is. As always, thanks for watching. If you're new here and you like these kind of videos, don't forget to subscribe before you leave. I'll see you on the next one.